Welcome back to the workbench, everyone. Today we're going to take a quick break from talking about playing with model train toys to play with arguably one of the most beloved toys there is, Lego. I could talk for quite a bit about the benefits of combining Lego and model railroading, particularly around bringing children into the hobby, but we could save that conversation for a whole other video. So today what we're going to do is make a Lego locomotive, a little diesel narrow gauge that can run on real model railroad track. So you're going to need some Legos. Now I've made a 3D model of this one online, and I'll put a link to that in the description of the video so that you can check it out. You can open that up and rotate this and see all of the parts that it's made of. You can also download a parts list if you want to make one yourself, but the principle of doing this involves Legos and a KATO chassis, like this one right here. This, I believe, is a KATO 11105 N scale model train chassis. So this will run on N gauge model railroad track, just like any other model. It can go pretty slow, nice and smooth, and go very fast, which obviously I won't do on this one little piece of track. So the principle here is a lot like the video that I made previously around scratch building your own locomotives. You're gonna start with a deck with a void that will fit right over this chassis, except in this case we're gonna do it out of Lego. So follow along and we'll build this little diesel to fit over this chassis. Let's start by building the deck that's gonna fit over our chassis. You're gonna need a 4x8 Lego plate. That's these thin pieces. That's going to sufficiently cover the chassis and let us build our engine on top. So a 4x8 plate. Then you're going to need two 1x8 blocks. These are going to go on underneath the plate on each side. Like so. Then for the front and back, you're going to need a 1x2 Lego plate. These little guys. So one to the front and a second one to the back. Then to give us something to attach some kind of coupler or like a buffer or whatnot, you're going to need 4 of these pieces right here. It's a 1x1 Lego plate with a vertical Lego piece protruding from it. I don't know the technical Lego term for this type of piece, so you're just gonna have to follow along and trust me and try to find these pieces. Again, you can get the part number, the Lego part numbers, downloaded from the 3D model. So you're gonna need 4 of these. And these are gonna go on the front and back, right on top of, or underneath, the 1x2 that we just put on. So there's 1, 2, like so, and then the other side. One and 2. There we go. Now this is the deck that fits on top of the chassis. This 2x6 void will fit right on top. Slide this into view here. Lower it down. And there we go. And there's like a little powered flat car. Next up, we'll start building the front end of the diesel, the engine, essentially. We'll start with a pretty unique piece. It's a 1x2 block, but it has a double height, and it gives you 4 vertical connectors on the front. Rotate this around so you can see it. All right, so this is going to kind of make up the radiator front of this locomotive. So it's going to go right in the middle at the very front, like so. Now to the left and right, we're gonna need 2 1x4 Lego bricks. I happen to have yellow parts available in my son's Lego bucket, so that's what I went with, but you can make yours out of whatever color you want. You can see in the 3D model that I went with green. So these are gonna go to the left and right of this block that we just put on. There we go. All right, next up we're going to close in the front end, the engine, with some pretty interesting pieces. So you're gonna need 2 of these 1x4s that have an arc, and then another 1x4 plate on the side, right? This is all one piece, one Lego piece. It's a pretty interesting piece. Again, if you're like a Lego aficionado and you know like what the proper name is for a piece like this, leave it in the comments below. And you can find it in the parts list from the 3D model. So 2 of these are gonna make up the kind of rounded top of the diesel. So we'll go back to our plate here. This one goes on this side and another on the other side. Ooh. There we go. Now for the top, you're gonna want quite a few pieces. First of all, you're gonna want one of these specialty use 1x2 plates that have a vertical connector. Okay, that's gonna go right on the front, like so. Then to cover that up, because it's white, I didn't find a yellow one in my Lego bucket, but perhaps I would have used a yellow one if I had it. But I'm gonna cover it up with one of these 1x2 plates that are like a vent. Okay, that's gonna go right on top. Now I need some smooth pieces for the top to really smooth over the engine block. If I had a 2x2 smooth piece, I would have used that, but I didn't find one. So I'm using a couple of these 1x2 flat smooth plates. There we go. And now at the back end of the engine block, I want to have like a whistle or an exhaust pipe coming up there or whatever it would be. So for that, I'm using a 1x2 flat that has a centered connection knob on it, right? Like that. I didn't have the same yellow. This one's slightly darker, but oh well, nothing I can do about that. There we go. And that finishes out the top except for the whistle or exhaust, which we'll add closer to the end. So back to the front. We're gonna use 2 more of these 1x2 kind of vent plates over our kind of radiator block. There we go. And then for our vertical connector here, we're gonna put basically a headlamp. Separate these pieces. So you got this kind of rounded single plate that then has a connector on it. Hopefully you can see that. So this we can snap right into this vertical connector like so that it can kind of articulate, but we just want it to be straight up and down, and that's where our light is going to attach. And for that I have a single transparent orange Lego piece, and we'll snap that right on the front. And there's our headlamp. All right, now on to the cab. Now for the cab, I did not have the ideal pieces that I really wanted to use to build it. So I fixed that in the 3D model, so you can check that out there. I just used a few different pieces so that there's more structural stability. The end product looks the same, but the pieces are held together better due to some like overlapping like brickwork, as opposed to things being right flush with each other. So here in the video I'll be assembling what I had for parts, but you can see in the 3D rendering how I made it better by use of different parts. The front and back of the cab are going to be made up of 1x4 bricks, So we'll snap one to the front of the engine block. And then ideally I would have another one. I'll snap that here too, but I don't. So I'm going to use two 1x2 blocks to make that up. This is one of those instances where I just didn't have the block, but I made it better in the 3D model that you can check out. So we need the same thing on the back. And again, I'm using 1x2s here because I didn't have another 1x4. Stack another set on top. There we go. All right, then we're going to top those off with 1x4 gray plates. Like these guys, 1x4 plate. One on the front and one on the back. This was more for aesthetics, but in this case, it's helping hold these 1x2s together by bridging the top. Okay. Now for the front of the cab, I have a dual window piece. One of these guys. This is like a wall element for Lego. So snap that right to the front. There we go. Oh, it's starting to look the way it should. And I did not have another one of these for the back, but I did have two individual ones. So we'll throw those on. Now, actually, before putting those pieces on, it would have been a good idea to, in the case of mine, I have a Lego minifigure inside of mine. So you want to put that in before it gets impossible, because he's going to be kind of closed in by parts. So you know what, I'm going to take these guys right off again, set them down, and set my minifigure in place. He's just centered inside the cab, like so. And we'll put our back windows on again. Okay, now we're ready for some roof pieces. So the roof of the cab is made up of these 2x4 plates that are smooth and arched on top. Right, two of these to come together to form a nice arched roof. Okay, so we'll put one on the right side, on the top of the cab, and another one on the left side. There we go. Nearly done already. And then you could leave the cab like this, but I added in a little like half wall here. I just liked the way it looked aesthetically. So that is made up of a 1x1 brick. Snap it in right next to your minifigure, and then a 1x1 plate, thin guy. And then a 1x1 sloped flat piece, just to cap off that Lego knob. Oh, too close to the camera, sorry. There we go. Yeah, I liked the way it looked with this little half wall, and the guy's kind of stuck in there. So the other side, I'm gonna put the same exact thing there. There we go. All right, back to the engine. I've got kind of a barrel, or, you know, a cylindrical piece, a single Lego 1x1, hollow on top. Stick that on top of our little nub there. Then I have a piece that's from like technical Legos. Again, the part number will be in the part list. But I'm going to take that and go right down into that barrel that I just added to get a nice like whistle / exhaust thing going on. All right, and then a couple of other details that I added to mine. I slipped in a 1x4 flat, smooth black piece in front of the minifigure, just to give the cab like a smooth floor instead of seeing those Lego nubs in there. There we go. And then on the front, I gave it like a bumper on the front. That is made up of a 1x2 black plate. And this kind of interesting piece. I don't know if it's like a roof element or if it's meant to be mounted on the front of something kind of like a bumper, if it's from like an automotive kit of Lego, I don't know. But it's a 1x4 and it's curved. So I'm taking the 1x2 black plate and putting it right in the void of that curved piece like that. Then I'm taking the front of my locomotive and it's going right on those vertical parts that we put on towards the beginning. And that's kind of like my bumper type thing. And on the back, I just had this kind of like caution striped 1x4, black and yellow striped 1x4, smooth piece. And I just stuck that on the back as like a back buffer. And there we go. And that is the complete narrow gauge diesel little Lego critter that can run on real model railroad track. Slip him right over the KATO chassis, like so, and we're good.